Season 6 of Warzone 2 and Modern Warfare 2 is here, and it's likely to be the final season before we move on to Modern Warfare 3 and the new iteration of Warzone. So to make sure we go out with a bang and are fully prepared for the new game, let's ensure that we have a competitive edge on people with the best controller settings available right now. And we start, of course, with the button layout. The best button layout available to us is still Bumper Jumper Tactical if you don't own a SCUF controller or a controller with paddles on. So if you do have a standard controller, I do recommend using Bumper Jumper Tactical, and that's for the simple reason it allows us to do all of the different movement mechanics on the game, but without moving our thumbs and fingers off the controller. So for example, if you just had the normal button layout and you wanted to jump shot round the corner, which for Xbox players would be pressing A, and for PlayStation players would be pressing X, then when you move your thumb over to that, you can no longer use the right analog to aim around with. But by using Bumper Jumper Tactical, it means that we can use the left bumper to jump, and then we use the right analog clicked in to do crouching or drop shotting. The next important controller setting is the stick sensitivity. There's not one perfect number for this, but you do want it fairly high, just so you can look around the map and swivel around quick enough to react to people shooting you. So I run 7-7, but by all means you go much higher, as long as you can still hit your shots fairly well. A little tip I always advise is to put your sensitivity up to basically as high as you can go until you start missing shots, and then you can come down to ADS sensitivity multiplier and put that down to 0.8. So this essentially means you can keep your stick sensitivity fairly high, because when you aim in, it goes down slightly, making it much easier. Then as we come down to gameplay, I do recommend putting your automatic sprint on automatic tactical sprint. This just means that as soon as you move forward on your analog, you go into that tactical sprint, so you move as quickly as possible. And obviously that can be really helpful, 1, to just move around the map quicker, 2, so you don't wear out your controller, and 3, so you can react to being shot quicker. Then as we come over to advanced, of course we want our aim assist on, and if the aim assist type, I actually recommend leaving it on default. Really the best options here are default or black ops. They're on average the strongest and they work at the best distances. For aim response curve type, I currently run dynamic. However, that's only really because I've used it for so long, it's hard to get used to using something else. So this just means when I start moving my analogs, the response on the screen is actually a little bit quicker in the first instance before slowing down. The advantage of this is you can be a lot snappier at those shorter ranges. So if you're an SMG player and you love running, gunning and rushing people, the dynamic is actually going to be great for you. However, for most players, I actually recommend changing it to linear. This means that when you move your analogs, you get a direct correspondence to that on the screen. Then for ADS sensitivity transition timing, put this on instant. This refers to how quickly the ADS sensitivity multiplier applies when you aim in. And since we're putting our multiplier down slightly to help us aim, we definitely want this on instant. For dead zone, I always recommend to just go as low as you can go before you get stick drift. And by stick drift, I mean when you're not actually moving your analogs, but your character is moving or your aim is slightly drifting around the screen. That just means you've got a little bit of wear on your controller. But you don't have to run straight to the shop and get a new controller. You can just put up the dead zones very slightly, and that's going to stop that happening. But you don't want these dead zones too high, or you're going to get a delay of when you move your analogs to when something actually happens. So you still want it to be very responsive. So to get the best dead zone for you, you want to go into a game and just leave your controller standing there, and if your character starts to have stick drift, just put this up by 1, then go back into the game, try it out again, and then just keep doing this until you no longer have stick drift. For movement behaviors, I strongly recommend turning off a lot of these automatic mantle settings. These are on the game to help people maneuver around the map, but if you've played the game even for a few hours, in my opinion, you just don't need them. If you're in a gunfight with someone and you're trying to jump shot, you definitely don't want the game automatically jumping up things for you. And similar could be said when you're trying to get up certain jump spots into buildings or something. You don't want the game just grabbing onto things for you. For invert, slide, and dive behavior, I recommend putting this on inverted. Diving is still the best movement mechanic compared to sliding, so by putting this on inverted, it means that we only have to tap our button to dive rather than hold it, so we can just dive slightly quicker than we otherwise would. Parachute auto deploy, switch this off. By switching this off, it means that we can manually pull our chute much closer to the ground than when the automatic deploy kicks in. So straight from the plane at the start of the game, you can get to the ground quicker and start looting quicker than some other players. For weapon mount movement exit, put this on, and put the exit delay on short. So if you are mounted up somewhere and you start getting shot, you can just move your analogs and get straight out of that mounted position as quickly as possible. And the rest of the settings there, I'd say are fairly subjective, so they're very much up to you. But now that we're finished up here, why don't you make sure you've got the best graphics settings on this season too by heading over to this this video, or if you want to know how to rank up the battle pass as fast as possible this season, head over to this video.